my previous videos, we talked about Gestalt perception, lack of filters. These are the individuals which cannot filter irrelevant information. All the stimuli come in without filters, and it's impossible to process all the stimuli. And that's why they use certain adaptations and compensations, let us call them like this, or another word, perceptual styles. Non-autistic people, we use all our senses simultaneously. For example, myself is not a good example, but still, I can see what is in front of me while I'm talking, right? And I can hear sounds, and I can feel everything, and still it is okay. But for somebody for whom it is too much because of lack of filters and Gestalt perception and overload, they use perceptual styles. And one of them, and a very important one, is monoprocessing. So, as I said, we use all our senses simultaneously, but they learn how to use one sense at a time. They can use one sense, for example, vision. They can see what is going on with meaning. They understand what is going on visually, but their hearing is switched off. Their tactile perception, interoception, they are switched off. So one sense which they can process the information. Or, yes, they can switch sensory channels. So this is monoprocessing. By the way, perhaps you heard another word which is close but not exactly the same, monotropism. Many years ago when I started all this, I also sort of thought, so it is the same thing. No. Monoprocessing, it is about processing through one sensory channel. Monotropism, it is about attention. It is attentional focus, this narrow focus when they can see or hear but every tiny detail. And that's why, see, their interests, they are focused on them. It is about attention. So there are these differences, and it's important to remember about it. So again, monoprocessing, it is using one sense at a time. And that is why you have to know which is the dominant sense of each child, not even dominant, but most reliable sense. For example, at schools now and at many other places, visual schedules, visual sort of things are very popular. But you can imagine if someone has visual distortions, visual fragmentations, very easily overloaded through visual channel, they won't use it. So that's why it is important to know each particular person and use their most reliable channel for them. And this is the photograph. I want to show you a photograph. One of my first students, if you like, in my school 30 plus years ago. This boy, he was nonverbal. He was about 5 here, I think, when he was brought to me. And he was considered to be unteachable, unmanageable, useless, and it was the head of the education department. That's how he described my school. It is useless to try to teach them. No, it wasn't. But anyway, you can see this photograph and you can see his eyes are closed. He didn't blink, no. That's how he worked with his teacher sitting next to him, with his eyes closed. He used his tactile system to recognize it. See, he has to touch everything as if he was blind. He wasn't. And by the way, we taught him to read, giving him plastic letters and numbers and whatever. Yes, he was not still nonverbal, but he could read and he could put his name in letters and whatever. So this is just one example of this monoprocessing. That's why a person, a child, an adult who monoprocesses, that is, uses only one sensory channel, may have problems with multiple stimuli. And that is why, this sensory integration therapy, I am not against sensory integration therapy. But many autistic individuals, and one of my favorites, Donna Williams, she was talking a lot about it. You see, when therapist tries to teach the child to use several sensory channels simultaneously, she said it never worked with her. She said, but at least one sense at a time was very meaningful for me, and I could process this information. So we have to be very careful about it. And that's why we have to find out, as I already said, which channel is open. And again, I always say, whatever you think about autism, it is never boring because the child can switch channels and you have to be prepared because you have to present information in this child's preferred modality or most reliable sensory modality and watch whether he or she will switch it to another one. This is a bit a problem, of course. The second, a very important feature of our perceptual style, if you like, in autism, is peripheral processing. What it means is direct perception hurts, and I do mean hurts physically. Yes, it can be painful to look at somebody else's eyes, and they can feel it as an attack, as something frightening. And of course, many of them can lose the ability to process everything and to understand what is going on. So, yes, if you insist, you can, on direct eye contact, they will give it to you, but they won't be able to interact and they won't understand what is going on. Or, I have to mention this, there is eye contact and eye contact. Some children even can turn your head and look directly into your eyes. It is not eye contact. It is fascination, with this their own reflection in your eyes and fascination with the color and whatever, because they won't interact like looking at you. But they cannot process everything and interact meaningfully if they look directly into your eyes. This interactive eye contact, it is very difficult for them. If they look into your eyes, they lose the ability to process information. By the way, it's interesting that many of them teach each other how to cheat on non-autistic people. They teach each other. For example, they say, look between their eyes, look at their chin, look at their forehead. They will never see the difference. This is true. But when we start working with children, it's better not to insist on eye contact. Uh, when they feel more comfortable, we can teach them to look into the direction of their communicative partner and again as look at something on the face but not directly into the eyes. We can teach them later on to look in the direction of the person who is talking to them. By the way, they do, when they feel more comfortable, more relaxed, they do look in the direction of the person, but they will never sort of have this eye contact like non-autistic people do. And I think it is okay. Another very interesting thing about this peripheral perception I want to mention. Uh, some cannot even watch TV news when the speaker, the presenter, looks directly at them, right? They can't. They avoid this eye contact from the TV. And another problem is sometimes some of them, and I know the person, I will tell you about him in a minute, who cannot tolerate when cats are looking into their eyes. Yes, cats are thought to be autistic, right? And they do not like eye contact. But we had a cat, her name was Dasha, and you can see her in the picture. She was so clever. And she found her entertainment when he was bored. You know, my son, it is a routine. Every evening, 6:30, I think, I'm not sure because I never watch it. He watches this The Simpsons cartoon. This is the only program he watches on TV. And it is at this time when I am, for example, cooking dinner. And as soon as it started, and I heard him, tell her to turn away, tell her turn away, I know what is happening. It is not every evening, but from time to time, Dasha was bored, perhaps, and she came into the TV room, sat exactly in front of the chair with my son, where my son was sitting, and looked at him. He couldn't tolerate it. He couldn't tolerate it. Yeah, of course, I always rushed to help him. And you can guess, right? It's difficult to negotiate with the cat to explain to her, please, can you leave? Never force eye contact. And what is more, do not approach the person directly in his or her hypersensitive sensory modality. Because if it is visual, it's this, even approaching the person directly and they can see, it feels very uncomfortable. Always, for example, before approaching, start talking to prepare them that you are coming. And by the way, when this hypersensitivity is addressed, it becomes easier, like, as I said, with tinted glasses or uh, other sensory diets to address auditory hypersensitivity, tactile, and so on and so forth. Another thing to remember, you come to a consultant, you come to a psychologist with your child. Please mind what you are saying because the child, as I said, will take it in peripherally, even without understanding, and he will interpret it later. Or, especially when it is peripheral, his understanding is much, much easier. Think what you say about autism, about him, about difficulties and whatever, if he is in the same room. And by the way, sometimes even if he's not in the same room, their hearing is very, very hypersensitive. They can hear what is going on outside the building, uh, downstairs if they are in their bedroom, upstairs, and so on and so forth. When I was traveling a lot and training conferences abroad in Mexico and other countries, my son knew exactly where and when I was going. He was in his bedroom, I was talking on the phone, or like this video Skype at the time. And he knew, he remembered what I said. So that is why when you are discussing something, please be careful about it. They are listening. They are listening to everyone around them, and because they can hear you better. But on the positive side, you can use this while talking to your colleague, for example, perform. The child is in the same room in the classroom, and you are talking to, if it is a teacher, to your assistant, and you say, oh, Mary, she was so good this morning. She came and so Mary will be really, really happy. Mary will take it in and she will be pleased with herself, with you, and with her day. And she will do it again because she will remember the feeling she had. Because what I observed many times, and by the way, many autistic teenagers hate it, and many individuals, adult individuals, remembered their school years and they hate it. Like when the child does something, right, draws son or write one letter, and the whole classroom, hurrah, well done, good boy, good girl, brilliant, well, you know what you achieve by this? That this particular child will never ever do it again because it is too much. They're easily overloaded. We talked about emotional overload, right, in previous videos. They're easily, and like Donna Williams, I will never ever do it again. Just to avoid this hurrah, a round of applause, and whatever. So be careful, okay? Peripherally, they will accept praise. They will accept what you said, but directly, please don't. And now I want to look at these two boys, also from my school. They must be adults now. One of them, you saw him with these plastic things, and the other one, his friend, also nonverbal, also autistic, and he has epilepsy as well. He had epilepsy as well. And they are dancing with their mothers. Look, you can see they are happy and relaxed while dancing with them. Why? Because they are dancing with their backs to their mothers. They're holding their hands, but there is no this direct sort of attack on them. And I will show you a personal video. Yes, my son, when he started getting to this neutral world, right? A bit of what all my life with him is. I'm trying to connect two parallel worlds, and I think it is possible. You know what I mean? To be on the same, not only physical territory, but also social and emotional. And yes, he started liking being with people. And when we had visitors, he always is out, and we are in the garden, barbecue or something, and he is always there. He may sort of jump around, going around, and listening to all the conversations peripherally, by the way, and we are quite careful what we say. And he's happy to be with us, but without this direct contact. And of course, I prompt him to be polite and to say, when the visitors were leaving, to say bye-bye and whatever. You will see how he reacts.
See you later, Alyosha.
Bye-bye. 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 Bye-bye.
And you know how I use this peripheral perception of my son, because he can hear anything and everything. And when he goes to bed, for example, or he's having rest in his bedroom, when I take him from the day center, and I pass his bedroom, and I say, Alyosha, I love you so much. And that's it. I talk to the door, I talk to the wall. And that is why I do advise you. Talk to the wall. Talk to your shoes. Talk to your window. Don't insist on eye contact. They will give you eye contact sooner or later when they start trusting you, when it will be easier for them. But don't insist on this. And talk more positively about them, about how proud you are of them, of your child or of your students, but like to nobody. They will understand you better. Trust me. And another thing we have to address, self-stimulatory behaviors, or they are known as STIMS. You can see my son here on the picture. That's what he did. Always like, or flapping something in front of his eyes. Why? If you talk to many autistic people, the explanation will be different, but very disturbing. I mean, for them, these experiences, because they don't want to do it. And it's not, but if they have problems with proprioception something. The child had to jump, stamp his feet, touch something to recognize what is going on, to feel himself in his own body. If they don't do it, it's terrible. It's a terrible feeling. They can panic. They can go to pieces emotionally, completely, because all these STIMS are compensatory strategies they use. And they learn to use them very early in life, even without thinking that they have to learn something to survive here. No, it's like was natural for them. It is important to find out what functions these particular behaviors have. And there are several of them. I'll give you a few. It can be defensive to reduce pain or discomfort caused by hypersensitivity, fragmentation, overload, and so on. For example, a child can do this if his vision overloaded and painful and hypersensitive, to distract himself from this pain, right? Or it can be self-stimulatory to improve the input in case of hyposensitivity. For example, his vision. See, this is a very difficult question. The child can do this to stimulate his vision, one and the same behavior, but very different functions. You have to be a detective to find out which one. Is it about hypersensitivity or hypersensitivity, hyposensitivity? Then it can be compensatory function. For example, again, if visual perception is unreliable, disturbing, as for example, rooms seem bigger than they are or smaller than they are, movements are very difficult to process for them, they can touch everything. Then another function, it is out of frustration. When they are overloaded or perhaps unwell or they don't know what is going on, and there is always the last straw that breaks the camel's back. Anything, and they can start doing it, just trying to calm themselves down, to find themselves again. Or it can be a very pleasurable experiences that help to withdraw from this confusing environment and enjoyable. And this STIMS can be also this echolalic, repeating the same sounds or the same words or repeating movements or giggling and whatever. And it is okay. This one is okay. And I remember my son coming when he was brought back from school. And now when I take him from the day center, the first half an hour, he goes to his room. And yes, I'm pretty sure what he is doing. Lying in his bed and doing this for half an hour. This is his time. This is relaxation time. And to conclude with this, I want you to remember their reactions and actions are logical and rational because they are dictated by their reality. We live in the same physical reality, but our perceptual worlds are very different. So these reactions are dictated by their reality, which are very different from our reality or normal reality or non-autistic reality. And that is why your main rule should be remember this and work with autism, not against it. Yes, some behaviors are very autistic or avoidance eye contact. Don't try to sort of stop it. Do this, look there, listen to me, look at me when I'm talking to you. Never ever. Work with autism. If they find it difficult or painful, yes, use peripheral perception. And I think you got this. What I'm trying to say here. Use autism to help them, and it will be easier for you as well. And before you start teaching or working with autistic individuals, learn about the way this particular individual perceive the world, themselves, and others in this world.